Do you think America is falling apart? America is at a crossroads. Every day, news headlines scream about political division, economic struggles, rising crime, and cultural decay. Some believe the country is in irreversible decline, while others argue that America has faced worse and always bounced back. But what is the truth? Is America really falling apart, or is this just another rough chapter in its long history? Let's break it all down. One of the most significant signs people point to when arguing that America is in decline is the extreme political polarization. The nation feels more divided than ever, with both the left and the right unwilling to compromise. The 2024 election fallout. The recent presidential election was one of the most contentious in history, with accusations of fraud, legal battles, and deep distrust in the electoral system. Supporters on both sides claim that democracy itself is under threat, further eroding public trust in institutions meant to uphold it. Congressional dysfunction. The U.S. Congress, once a place of bipartisan cooperation, has become increasingly ineffective due to ideological divides. Filibusters, government shutdowns, and party-line votes have made it nearly impossible to pass meaningful legislation. The inability to work across the aisle contributes to a growing sense of frustration among the electorate, who feel that politicians are more focused on political victories than solving real issues. Rise of extremist movements. Far-right and far-left movements have gained momentum, leading to political violence, protests, and even domestic terrorism concerns. Groups like the Proud Boys, Antifa, and other radical organizations have taken to the streets, often clashing violently. The presence of political extremism is not new to American history, but social media has amplified and accelerated its influence, making radical views more accessible to a broader audience. Misinformation and media bias. The role of the media in exacerbating political tensions cannot be ignored. Many Americans now consume news from partisan sources, reinforcing their own beliefs and dismissing opposing views as propaganda. The rise of misinformation, fueled by online platforms and AI-generated content, has made it harder to distinguish fact from fiction. This deepens distrust in institutions and fuels conspiracy theories that further divide the public. Erosion of trust in democracy. According to polls, trust in American democracy has reached an all-time low. Whether due to concerns about election integrity, gerrymandering, or the Supreme Court's controversial decisions, many Americans feel their voices are no longer being heard. This skepticism in the democratic process creates apathy, discouraging voter participation and engagement in civic duties. Historically, America has been deeply divided before. Think about the Civil War or the Vietnam War protests. The question is whether today's divisions are worse or if the country can still come together. With distrust in institutions, increasing partisanship, and political extremism at an all-time high, America faces a crucial moment. Will it find a path back to unity, or will these fractures continue to deepen? Another major concern is America's economic situation. Inflation, job losses, and national debt have many questioning the country's financial future. The inflation crisis. While inflation has stabilized compared to the post-pandemic years, Americans still feel the effects of rising prices in housing, gas, and groceries. Many households struggle to keep up with the cost of living, and wage increases have not always matched inflation rates. The Federal Reserve continues to adjust interest rates to combat inflation, but the long-term effects on consumer spending and business investments remain uncertain. Growing wealth inequality. The gap between the rich and the poor continues to expand. The middle class is shrinking, and home ownership feels out of reach for many younger Americans. Tech billionaires and corporate executives continue to amass vast wealth, while lower-income families face stagnant wages, rising debt, and fewer opportunities for upward mobility. The national debt. The U.S. national debt is at an all-time high, raising concerns about long-term economic stability. Government spending on entitlement programs, defense, and infrastructure projects has contributed to the growing deficit. While some argue that deficit spending is necessary to support economic growth and social programs, others worry that it will lead to higher taxes, cuts in public services, and potential economic downturns in the future. Job market and automation. While unemployment rates remain relatively low, job security is becoming a major concern. Automation and artificial intelligence are reshaping industries, displacing workers in manufacturing, retail, and even white-collar professions. Many Americans are being forced to retrain or seek new career paths as traditional jobs disappear. Stock market volatility. While Wall Street has seen significant gains in recent years, concerns about economic bubbles and market corrections persist. Investors worry about the long-term impact of government policies, global trade tensions, and unpredictable financial crises. Cryptocurrency markets have also introduced new risks and opportunities, with some seeing them as the future of finance and others warning of speculative bubbles. Global trade and economic power. America is no longer the undisputed economic powerhouse it once was. China's rise as a global manufacturing and technological leader presents challenges to U.S. dominance. Trade wars, tariffs, and international competition have impacted industries ranging from agriculture to tech. The U.S. must navigate complex relationships with economic rivals while maintaining its influence in global markets. However, some argue that despite these issues, America remains one of the strongest economies in the world. Tech innovation, manufacturing revivals, and global investments still keep the country competitive. Major corporations continue to thrive, and entrepreneurial opportunities remain plentiful. The resilience of the American economy has been tested before, and many believe it will adapt and emerge stronger, as it has in previous financial crises. Crime rates are a major concern, particularly in major cities. Some feel lawlessness is rising, while others believe the fear is exaggerated. Crime in major cities. Some reports indicate rising crime, particularly in cities like Chicago, New York, and San Francisco. Carjackings, theft, and violent crime fuel public anxiety. While some of these cities have implemented reforms aimed at reducing crime, mixed results have left many residents uneasy about their safety. Defunding versus supporting the police. The debate over law enforcement funding continues to rage. Some communities have called for defunding the police, arguing that money should be reallocated to social services and mental health programs. Others believe that increasing police presence and funding is necessary to restore order and ensure public safety. The conflicting perspectives have led to policy swings, with some cities reversing previous cuts to police budgets. Mass shootings and gun control. The U.S. continues to struggle with gun violence, with mass shootings occurring at an alarming rate. The debate over gun control remains as polarized as ever, with some advocating for stricter laws and background checks, while others insist that the Second Amendment protects citizens' rights to bear arms. The recent mass shootings in schools, shopping malls, and public events have reignited discussions about whether more regulation or better mental health support is the solution. Riots and protests. Social unrest has flared up over various issues, including racial injustice, police brutality, economic hardship, and political grievances. Protests have often started peacefully, but sometimes escalated into riots, leading to looting, property destruction, and clashes with law enforcement. The rise of social media has amplified these events, making them more visible and emotionally charged for the broader population. Drug epidemic. The opioid crisis continues to devastate communities, with fentanyl overdoses reaching record highs. Many cities are struggling to combat the growing drug epidemic, balancing between law enforcement crackdowns and harm reduction strategies like supervised injection sites. The crisis has led to increased homelessness and public health concerns. While crime is a serious concern, it is important to compare statistics. Some experts argue that while crime is rising in certain areas, it is still lower than in the 1,980s and 1,990s. Additionally, public perception of crime is often influenced by sensationalized media coverage, making it difficult to determine the true scale of the problem. Nonetheless, addressing crime and social unrest remains a key issue for policymakers and citizens alike. America's culture war has intensified, with debates over gender identity, racial tensions, and censorship. Woke versus anti-woke movements. The debate over woke culture and anti-woke backlash has infiltrated politics, businesses, and education. Education battles. Schools have become battlegrounds for issues like book bans, critical race theory, and gender discussions. Declining national identity. Patriotism is declining among younger generations, with fewer people believing in the American dream. Cultural shifts have happened throughout history, from the civil rights movement to the sexual revolution of the 1960s. The question is whether today's changes will strengthen or divide the nation further. Many argue that America is losing its position as the world's leading superpower. China's rise, Russia's aggression, and global instability challenge U.S. dominance. China's economic and military growth. China has become a serious rival to the U.S. in trade, technology, and military strength. Wars and foreign policy struggles, ongoing conflicts in Ukraine, and tensions in Taiwan raise concerns about American influence. Weakening alliances. Some allies question America's reliability after past foreign policy failures. However, others argue that despite these challenges, America's global influence is still unmatched in culture, technology, and military power. So, is America truly falling apart? The answer depends on your perspective. If you focus on political dysfunction, economic struggles, and cultural division, things seem bleak. But if you look at historical resilience, technological innovation, and strong democratic traditions, America has always found a way to endure. What do you think? Is the country headed toward collapse, or will it find a way to recover? Let us know in the comments.